بين النور والظلماء شتان بين الرشد والإغواء شتان بين فتاة دين آمنت وفتاة دنيا في ربى الأهواء شتان بين النور والظلماء شتان بين الرشد والإغواء شتان بين فتاة دين آمنت وفتاة دنيا في ربى الأهواء لله در الحاملات أمانة الطامعات بجنة وجزاء الداعيات إلى الهدى في حكمة فلهم من الأعماق جل دعاء لله در الحاملات.
Today we're going to take another excerpt from the life and struggles of our prophet and use it as a means of giving you the hope, the encouragement you need to deal with life, and also helping you understand what your purpose is in life as a Muslim. We're going to learn today from the example of the prophet's night journey. The example of the prophet's night journey. And just so you guys know, the prophet's night journey, it occurred right after the incident at Taif. Remember what we talked about yesterday. Life is nothing but one trial after another. Life is nothing but one fitna after another. Just when you get over one trial, here comes another, greater than the other. Well, guess what was greater than the trial of Taif? The prophet's night journey. Okay? We have to understand as Muslims, guys, how can we take the prophet's night journey and benefit from it? Well, I'm going to try to do that for you guys today. First of all, understand that as a believer, as your faith increases, as your belief in Allah increases, so does the inspirations that Allah sends to you. Remember, Allah tells us in the Quran, guys, that that the believers are protectors, supporters unto each other. Okay? Allah tells us in the Quran to trust in Him. He will never let us down. Allah tells us in the Quran that for those of us who truly believe in Him, He's the one that controls the hearts of man. He will inspire you to do good. He will inspire you to do what's right. So as your faith increases, as you live your life not being a Sunnah follower sister in name, but a Sunnah follower sister in deed, in action, as you live your life fulfilling the obligations that Allah has imposed upon you, as you live your life obeying Allah's commands, as you live your life staying away from what He commanded you to stay away from, your faith will increase. And so will the inspirations from Allah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, guys, has told us in an authentic hadith that our good dreams come from Allah. Remember, we talked about this a few days ago. Where do good dreams come from? Good dreams come from Allah. And also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that one of the signs of the last hour will be that truthfulness will disappear, and it will only be found in the dreams of the righteous people. We are living in the days of falsehood. We're living in the days, guys, where people look at the people of truth as being mean and harsh and evil, and we take the people of falsehood as being good. So these things are already happening. These things are already happening. Also, guys, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was the last prophet ever to be sent to mankind. So thus there will be no other revelations from Allah. But this does not mean that there are not still messengers amongst us. This does not mean that a person cannot receive good inspirations. Do you guys understand that? There are no other prophets. There will be no other revelation sent down by Allah. No other books. The Quran is final. The Quran is it. It is complete. That's it. But we do have messengers. A messenger is a person that conveys the truth. And Allah tells us that on the day of judgment, we will all be asked, did I not send messengers to you from your own kind, speaking your own language? Yes. I am a messenger. Imam Hassan is a messenger. Dr. Dramali is a messenger. Sheikh Morsi is a messenger. Sheikh Bajuni is a messenger. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. All da'i, the true da'i, are messengers. Messengers sent by Allah to convey the message. We're not prophets though. But we are people who are inspired by Allah to convey His message. Do you guys understand? Okay? But at the same time, guess what? Since we're not prophets, and there will be no other prophets after the Prophet Muhammad, remember, each and every one of us, we have an angel that is assigned to our heart. Remember that hadith? The Prophet told us every son of Adam has an angel assigned to his heart. And that angel is the one who whispers to you and inspires you to do and say that which is good. And remember, the Prophet also told us that our good dreams may serve as inspiration. So thus the believer today can be inspired to do good, just as the righteous people before us were inspired. Okay? So good inspirations do come to us from that angel that is assigned to our heart. And we also get inspirations from the happy dreams that Allah sends us. Allah may give you a happy dream, letting you know that He's proud of you. Allah may cause you to have a good dream, showing you that He's there to support you. And then we get inspirations from within ourselves telling us, oh, I should do this. It would be a good idea for me to give in charity today. It would be a good idea for me to help my mother. It would be a good idea for me to teach about the Prophet today. These are good inspirations that come from within ourselves and from that angel. So as you can see, guys, the believers are inspired from Allah today. Okay? But on the other hand, we got to also remember that each and every one of us also has a jinn, because remember, we're not prophets. We are not prophets. Our jinns were not made Muslim, because we are not prophets. We can call ourselves da'i, people of the truth, callers to the truth. We can call ourselves students of knowledge, people who are trying to live the truth, but we're still not prophets. And each and every one of us has a jinn assigned to us. What is his job? His job is to inspire us too. But he inspires us to do bad things. So guess what? Our struggle is to determine If our inspirations are good or if our inspirations are evil. Should I react on this? Would this be a good thing to react on or should I not? That's the problem we face. That's what makes us different than the prophets. Everybody understand that? So whereas all of us are inspired, either we're inspired to do good. What makes us different from the prophets is the prophets were never inspired to do what was bad, but we are. That's the difference. That's the difference. That's the difference. And if the inspirations we receive are good, then the struggle continues as we try to get other people to accept whatever that goodness is. Subhanallah, I am inspired to be a caller. I am inspired to live each day of my life, regardless of what, sitting here calling you to the truth, trying to help you to understand this religion. But the struggle is trying to get the people to accept what I'm trying to say, trying to get you to accept the truth. This is the problem, trying to get you to understand that my inspirations are good, not bad. That I'm preaching truth, not falsehood. That's the struggle. And this is what we all will encounter in our lives. You chose Islam to be your new way of life. So now the struggle is, you're trying to get your family and your friends to accept that this choice was a good choice. That's your struggle for many of you. You chose to take Islam more serious. You've been Muslim all your life, but you didn't practice. So now you have decided that you're going to practice your deen. You were inspired by that angel to take Islam more serious. But now your struggle, your jihad is trying to get your husband to take the religion serious. Trying to get your husband to practice the deen. Trying to get the rest of your friends and family to understand what the true Sunnah is, as opposed to innovation. You guys see? This is the problem that we experience as believers. But we should never give up, because this was the case of our prophet too. Our prophet, he was only inspired to do what was good. But getting the people to accept and believe him in these matters, this was what his challenge was. And many, many times, guys, he was faced with disappointment. Many, many times he was met with hurt, pain, and let down. And one such example was his night journey. His night journey. Let me explain to you what the night journey was. One night, as the Prophet ﷺ was sleeping, he heard a knock at his door. A knock at his door. So he woke up to see who it was. When he opened the door, he was surprised to find his friend, the angel Jibril, there. But Jibril was not alone. He was accompanied by a beautiful beast that looked like a horse, but it had a face similar to a human's face. It was a beautiful beast. And Jibril told him that this was the Buraq, which is a beast from paradise. And Jibril then told the Prophet, I was sent by Allah to take you on a journey. So the Prophet ﷺ climbed on the back of the beast, and Jibril and the beast, they physically took him to Jerusalem. Jerusalem, which is not close to Mecca at all. And once they arrived at Jerusalem, they went to the sacred mosque there, the mosque that was built by Prophet Solomon. And when they arrived at that mosque, the prophet was faced with all the other prophets that Allah sent. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ led them all in prayer. And then after the prophet led all the other prophets in prayer, he climbed back upon the back of the buraka. And then he was taken up on a journey through all the heavens. Through all the heavens. And when he reached the lowest heaven, this is where the Prophet Muhammad came face to face with Prophet Adam. Who was Adam? He was the father of all mankind. And when Adam met the Prophet Muhammad, he greeted him and affirmed his prophethood. And it was then, guys, it was then that the prophet witnessed the following. It was then that Allah showed Prophet Adam the souls of his offspring who will be in paradise. And those people stood to the right of Adam. And he showed Adam the souls of his offspring who will be in the hellfire. And those souls stood to the left. So the Prophet Muhammad witnessed this when he went on his night journey upon meeting Adam. And when Adam looked to the right of him, he smiled. And when Adam looked to the left of him, he cried. Because he got to see who of his offspring will enter paradise and who of his offspring will enter hell. This is why I tell you guys, I am not big on convert stories. And this is why I tell you, the true believer ain't got time for no convert stories. You had nothing to do with your conversion to Islam. Your conversion to Islam was already decreed by Allah before you was even born. Before you were even a sperm drop, Allah had already written in his book who amongst the humans would be people of paradise and who amongst the humans will be people of hell. So what do we care about your conversion story? Your conversion story ain't important. You are Muslim because Allah decreed for you to be Muslim. You want to impress me? You want to impress the believer? Show us what sacrifices you've made since you've been Muslim. Show us what sacrifices you've made to Allah. Show us how you truly believe in Allah from those sacrifices. Show me that just because you said you believe in Allah was not enough. That's how you impress us. We don't care about your sad sob stories as to how you became Muslim. What have you done since you've been Muslim? That's what impresses. Okay? After the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam visited with Prophet Adam, he was then taken up to the second heaven, where he saw Prophet John and Jesus. John and Jesus were cousins. And after meeting them, the prophet was then taken up to the third heaven. And this is where he met Prophet Yusuf or Joseph alayhi salam. And after meeting Joseph in the third level, he was then taken up to the fourth heaven. And this is where he met Prophet Idris. And who was Prophet Idris? He was the father of writing, the first person to write. And after that, the Prophet Muhammad was taken up, still on the back of the Buraq. He was taken up to the fifth heaven. And it was in the fifth heaven that he met Prophet Aaron, the brother of Moses. And after meeting Aaron, he then continued on in his journey to the sixth heaven. And it was here at the sixth heaven that our Prophet Muhammad came face to face with Moses. Moses, our beloved Prophet Moses. And when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam met Moses, the prophet noticed that Moses started to cry. So the prophet said, "Oh Moses, why are you crying?" And Moses said, I am crying because the nation of a person who was sent after me, who will enter paradise, are greater in number than those of my nation. And of course, that person he was referring to is the Prophet Muhammad. And that nation is our nation, the nation of Muslims. These words that Prophet Moses conveyed to our prophet were very powerful. Remember, guys, the Prophet Muhammad had just went through one of the greatest trials of his life, being rejected by the people of Taif. Remember, the prophet just a few weeks before had made dua complaining to Allah as to how hard it was and how disillusioning it was to get the people to accept his message. Well, look at the words of hope given to our prophet by Moses. Moses let him know, you may seem to be at the bottom now, but you will be at the top, O Muhammad, because your followers will outnumber mine. There will be more people who follow you in the paradise than there will be people who follow me. See how Allah is. Allah will always give us the hope we need to carry on, as long as we truly believe in him and don't fall and fail in our tests. After that, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken up to the seventh heaven. And it is here that he met Prophet Abraham. And after meeting Prophet Abraham, he was then taken up to Sidrat al-Muntaha. This is a big tree in paradise. This is the tree that serves as the praying niche of the angel Jibreel. This is the tree wherein originates 4 rivers: the Nile, the Euphrates, the Jihran, and the Sihran. And then after being taken up to this tree, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was then raised up to El Beit al Marmar. And what is this? This is a house in paradise that all the angels make pilgrimage to. They go in that house, but they never come out. And as the Prophet stood and watched the angels enter into that house, it was then that he stood in the presence of Allah. And Allah mentions this to us in the Quran, in the interpretation, the meaning. It was at a distance of 2 bows' lengths. So Allah revealed to Muhammad through Jibreel what he chose to reveal to him. So at this time, guys, as the prophet stood here on this level of the heavens, it was here that Allah revealed to him the prayer. The prophet stood in the presence of Allah. He could feel Allah. He felt the light of Allah within him. And this is when Allah revealed to him that he wanted his followers to pray to him 50 times a day. It was when the Prophet Muhammad was making his descent back down to earth, when he passed by Moses. It was Moses who asked him, "What did Allah command you to do?" And the Prophet said, "I was commanded to observe 50 prayers a day." Moses was the one who told the Prophet, "Your people will not be able to do that. That's too much for them. So go back to your Lord and ask him to reduce the prayers for your people." The prophet listened to Moses, and eventually the prayer was reduced to what it is today, Look how many Muslims don't pray. Look how many Muslims today are too lazy to pray. We think praying 5 times a day is too much. Imagine how it would have been if it were 50 times a day. Now when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood in the presence of Allah, many Muslims today like to say that the Prophet saw Allah during this meeting. But this is not true, guys. The Prophet Muhammad has never seen Allah, and no one will see Allah until the day of judgment. Where's the proof? Well, it has been authentically reported by Ibn Abbas that when the Prophet stood in the presence of Allah, he saw him within his heart. That means he felt him. He felt Allah's presence. Also, Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, and Ibn Masud, they tell us that when Allah tells us in the Quran that indeed the Prophet saw Jibreel, that he's referring to Jibreel, not him. And then finally we have the hadith where the Prophet was asked, "Did you ever see your Lord?" And he answered, "Allah is light. How could I ever see him?" So thus you can see, guys, the Prophet Muhammad stood in the presence of Allah. He felt him, but he never saw him. No one will see Allah until the day of judgment. So that was the Prophet's night journey. This all occurred in one night. In one night, he went on his journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, and from Jerusalem through all the different heavens. The next day, when the Prophet told the people about his journey, guess what happened? They laughed at him. They made fun of him. They called him crazy. In fact, very few of the people believed him. Even though Allah helped the Prophet by giving him a clear vision of the mosque in Jerusalem. Now the Muslims, the people, the Quraysh, they knew that the Prophet had never been to Jerusalem before, but he was able to describe the mosque there. He was also able to describe a caravan that he had saw on its way to Mecca too. But despite this, the people still chose to reject him. In fact, many of his own followers rejected him. It was Abu Bakr who publicly stood up and said, if Muhammad said he went on his journey, then he did. And that's how Abu Bakr got the nickname of being the most truthful, because he was one of the few who accepted and believed what the Prophet said. And such is the case for us today, guys. Such is the case for us today. As Muslims today, we try to convince the people of the truths. As I said, many of you who have embraced Islam, you try to convince your mothers, your fathers, your friends, your family that you are upon a true way. Despite how you've changed for the better, you become a better person, they still want to reject you and make fun of you. Even worse are the hypocrites. For a person like me, my life is a da'i. I am constantly calling people, Muslims, to the truth. Constantly trying to educate them. And everything I teach you, everything I tell you, I back it up with evidence from Quran and the authentic Sunnah. But look at how the hypocrites will still challenge me. They will still reject me despite the proofs, despite that I can back it up. But when we experience this, guys, we still have to remain firm, just as our Prophet did. We have to accept, guys, that most of the people that we know will be in the hellfire. Remember, the prophet told us, out of every 100 people that you know, 99 of them will be in hell, and only one of them will make it to paradise. So despite the fact that we're trying to live this truth and the people are against us, we have to remain firm and try to be that one who makes it to paradise. We should never allow the people of disbelief, we should never allow the hypocrites to pull us down and take us away from our Lord. When they abuse us physically, when they abuse us verbally, when they ridicule, understand that you will have your laugh on the day of judgment. Just like our prophet was given his laugh at Badr, when he looked in that grave and saw the leaders of the Quraysh killed, and Allah brought them back to life to allow the prophet to have his justice. We will all have ours on the day of judgment too. Again, our prophet, he's an example for us, guys. We have to learn to pull our strength from him. Can you believe that in this day and age, there are people who claim to be Muslims who actually reject that the prophet's journey occurred? You got people today who call themselves Muslims who chalk up the journey of the prophet as being a dream. It was not a dream. It was a reality. So let's learn from his example and stay firm upon the reality of Islam.
بين النور والظلماء شتان بين الرشد والإغواء شتان بين فتاة دين آمنت وفتاة دنيا في ربى الأهواء شتان بين النور والظلماء شتان بين الرشد والإغواء شتان بين فتاة دين آمنت وفتاة دنيا في ربى الأهواء لله در الحاملات أمانة الطامعات بجنة وجزاء الداعيات إلى الهدى في حكمة فلهم من الأعماق جل دعاء